Hello and welcome. Today, me and Terry, both drunks, both I can't talk today, see? Both drunks and both alcoholics are going to answer some questions from Reddit about how we got sober and what's going on. These are questions that were put out by random people that are wondering how to get sober. Now, some of these questions are kind of interesting, some of them are kind of weird, and if you like this content model, make sure you smash a like button and let us know in the comments below, because what we're going to do is get to the nitty gritty of what we've learned about sobriety for the last 8 years. And I got to tell you, me and Terry didn't get sober like normal people. We never do anything normal, right? We're kind of weird people. And when I got sober, I really dove into understanding my addiction, understanding chemical dependency, and understanding why I was an alcoholic, what made me an alcoholic, what makes people sober, what makes people not relapse, what makes people relapse, and everything like that. Because I saw people trying to quit drinking and they couldn't. And oftentimes, it hinges on the questions we're about to answer here. These are very important. So hopefully you like the format. Terry, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Did a
Awesome.
bunch of Reddit research.
All right, cool.
I found it very interesting.
Yes, I think the questions are very interesting. I think what we're going to go through today is really going to give you an overview of what sobriety is like and also let you know that people are struggling just like you. People have the same questions as you. When we get into drinking, a lot of the things we think we're alone, we think we're isolated. But I think what this is going to show you is that we're not alone. We're not isolated. We're in this together. So, Terry, if you're ready, and everyone who's here, if you're ready, smash that like button and let us know in the comments. And we're going to get into these questions. Let's see if I can get rid of these little happy faces here. There we go. All right, question number one from the old Reddit is it normal to have depression because I can't have a drink? This is a very popular question where, when I first got sober, I was kind of worried about this. I was like, okay, am not going to, if I'm not going to be able to drink, my life's going to kind of suck, right? Did you feel like that too, Terry? What was your take on that?
Yeah, I thought I was going to miss out. Sorry if I'm too loud. Maybe Marcus can turn me down.
I
But
think I did. So let me know if the sound is working better now.
okay. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Most of my depression about not being able to drink was while I was still drinking. I was like, thinking about after I quit, what's it going to be like? I'm not going to have any life, nothing. Life's going to be boring and all that. And that's kind of that was my biggest depression. After I got sober, I did have a little bit of depression as far as like, not being able to go do those things, not go to parties, not. I thought I couldn't do anything. I thought I couldn't go to a baseball game or anything like that, or anything in life because I did it all with alcohol. So I thought I was just going to have to sit around and do nothing, which I kind of had to do at the beginning because I was pretty sick. But it was a little disheartening realizing that there was a bunch of things that I wouldn't be able to do, and I really wasn't. What it came down to was I really wasn't looking at what I could do now that I was sober, and what I can do being sober is huge. It's so much bigger than what I can't do. I, and those things that I can't do, I can still do them. I can go to a party. I just can't drink. Really, the only thing I can't do is drink.
Yep.
And really, I can drink if I want to, if I want to destroy my life again, but I don't, so I can't.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting because, with the question, is it normal to have depression because I can't have a drink? Well, chances are, drinking probably wreaked havoc in your life. So you might be coming out of that fog and you might be grieving what was your former self who was able to drink. And I think it is normal to have that kind of fog. I know people talk about the pink cloud, but they don't talk about the brown fog. Well, we won't call it that. We'll call it the black fog, right? That dark fog over your life of what's going on and what happened. And I think we need to just chill and grieve that. And sometimes just it's okay to just be. Sometimes it's okay to be upset that you can't have a drink or because you figured out you're an alcoholic or whatnot. But what I would tell you is I was the same way. That's one of the reasons I did not get sober because I was like, you're telling me I need to give up alcohol for the rest of my life? This is crazy. And I was kind of depressed about that. But had I not pushed through the first 12 months, I wouldn't have gotten to the light at the end of the tunnel, right? Because it did seem kind of bad. It was like, hey, I got in a fight with my spouse and I can't go drink. I, went to a sports game. I can't go drink. I can't have a drink at the lake or whatever it is. And I didn't realize that those things would fall by the wayside and they wouldn't be as important as I thought they would be. And what I did realize is that inadvertently I had a life change that was coming that I wasn't ready for. That was the biggest blessing I ever had that no one told me. I just thought sobriety was not drinking. All right, so my life's going to suck still, and I'm not going to be able to drink. So, crappy life, drink, or crappy life, no drink. I was like, well, 9 out of 10 days, I'm going to pick crappy life, don't drink. But I was able to muscle through for the first little bit and get to the point where now it's happy life, don't want to drink, right? Forget about the can't. And I think that's very important. And I think my answer to that would be push through. Push through. You're not sure. You're not able to see what's there just yet, but life can get better. And I think that being depressed over that, we need to look at it and say, okay, well, how do we reframe this and how do we look at this in a different way?
And understanding that depression is, all these feelings that we get when we first get sober, they're going to be a little bit amplified when we get sober because suddenly they're hitting us when we were just pushing them down. And, understanding that these feelings, even depression, it's going to be part of life. These things do happen, and it's okay. We can get to the other side. And just trying to tell yourself that a lot, and talking to other sober alcoholics that have been through it, so that you start to realize that, oh yeah, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and dive into the next question here. I think we got, why does nobody trust me? I didn't really, I mean, I dealt with this in terms of my alcoholism. Like, no one trusted that I wasn't going to go to the bar, and no one trusted that if I smelled like alcohol, I wasn't drinking, and no one trusted that I wasn't drinking. So, in that aspect, people didn't trust me in regards to my alcoholism. And that's because I lied a lot. I was like completely sideways drunk, and I'd be like, I didn't drink today. What are you talking about? Because I didn't want to hear it, and I just wanted to continue in my misery. And so my answer to that would be nobody trusts you because you haven't built a life based on trust. And addicts don't. Like, this is normal. Addicts and alcoholics, they don't do trustworthy things. They're not up there building trust. And it's not because we're moral, deranged, crazy people. I mean, I'm sure some are. But I think it's more because chemical dependency puts you at a base level where all you care about is the chemical. And you'll do anything to get the chemical, and you'll do anything to protect your lack of sobriety, your ability to drink. So I think that's what we're looking at. What do you think about that one, Terry?
Well, for me, when I was drinking, I think it's pretty obvious why nobody trusted me because, as you just said, I was just a big liar. I lied about everything. Well, maybe not everything, but I lied so that I could continue to drink. I didn't want people to know how much I was drinking because they'd make me quit. I didn't want people to know that I had been drinking right then in that situation, because it was a situation where most normal people wouldn't be drunk, and things like that. So while I was drinking, that was pretty obvious. Where it starts to, or I guess where it started to hurt me was after I got sober and people didn't trust me. And here I am sober, I'm living a good life, I'm doing the right thing every day, nobody trusts me. And it wasn't nobody, but people, people had some trust issues. Even, my wife that I have now, she wasn't my wife at that point, but we were living together. And I remember she asked me one day, and I'd been sober like 2.5 years already. And she asked me, have you started drinking? I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I started to get mad
Mm-hmm.
because I was doing all the right thing, but what it was where I had told her that I used to hide my alcohol. I had put something in front of that door under the house. That's where I had hid it. I had put something in front of it, and she thought that I was just trying to hide it there. And, I can't blame her for that. I destroyed the trust in the past. I had to let that go. And so in sobriety, it's going to take time to develop trust. I believe that she has a ton of trust in me now. Of course, in the back of her mind, there's fear if I start drinking again. She's going to have that. I can't make her let go of that,
Hmm.
but I can continue to do trustworthy actions throughout my daily life, and that's all I can do. Can't control what she's going to think about that or what other people are going to think. All I can do is just do trustworthy things every day and just be a good person, do the right thing.
Absolutely. And I think it's something that just builds up over time, and understand the other person's point of view. I think that's crucial. Like, they don't want to have a non trustworthy friend or family member or spouse or whatever it is. They want you to be trustworthy, but they're also protecting. They're also protecting because, living with an alcoholic is dangerous. It's scary. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And things can get kind of crazy there. And I think it's important to say, hey, you know what? These people do have a right to feel the way they feel. They don't have a right to like abuse you and berate you and, stuff like that. But they do have a right to feel a little, hey, buddy, everything good? I remember that happened. I had been 5 years sober, and I started drinking NA beers, like the Heineken Zero that has zero alcohol. And I remember my family was like, hey, you good, buddy? And I was like, yeah, I think I am. I think I'm okay. And they kind of monitor it and stuff like that. Um, and, I think they had the right to worry about that. Absolutely. And if I was gone all night and I came home smelling like beer and I was sideways and they said, are you sure you had non alcoholic? Yeah, they'd have the right to question me then, too. And I think it's really putting that foot forward and saying what your intentions are, and realizing that you are fallible, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's key.
And then, on that same note, one more thing with trust is, um, I make mistakes all the time. I mean, not constantly, I hope, but I make mistakes in sobriety, and sometimes they might hurt somebody. And one thing with trust is when that happens and when I hurt somebody, it's really important that I remedy that situation right away. I admit to what I did. I I apologize to them, deal with the situation. I mean, that's huge in developing trust with somebody. You're going to develop so much more trust if you do that in sobriety. I mean, if you're doing that while you're drinking, you're not going to it's not going to help much because you'll probably do something again. But just trying to fix your mistakes and not repeat them. That's really helpful.
Absolutely. And the next question we have is, are bad days common when you get sober? Well, Terry, you want to start off on that one? What are your thoughts?
Yes.
All right.
Well, are they super common for me? Me personally, no, they're not super common. I've had bad days, and of course, everybody has bad days. I think. Um, but I mean, I lost both parents in sobriety. I lost two dogs in sobriety. Those are the big things that happen, and then there's the little things. Right when the pandemic hit, I lost my job. Was that a bad day? I don't know. That was kind of a good day. Anyways, but financial situations, legal situations, especially when we first get sober, we're gonna probably have bad days because at least I don't know about you guys, but me, I caused a lot of damage and I had to fix that damage or at least deal with the damage that I'd caused. And those were not the greatest of days because I had to do a lot of uncomfortable things to fix these things that I had caused.
Mhm.
And so, yes, bad days can be common. For me, they were more common in the beginning. As my sobriety's gone on, they're much less common. And one thing about bad days is I can restart my day, restart mentally as far as I'm having a bad day. My day can, if I'm having a bad day right now, my day can get good 10 minutes from now and start off again. I can take a step back. I can relax. I can reset. And that's because I'm sober now and I try not to dwell on those bad things. I try to live in gratitude. And that's what tends to help me as far as dealing with bad situations. Sometimes I just got to say, hey, it's a bad day. It's gonna, I'm just gonna sit and relax, maybe turn the TV on, not the news, something happy or something like that, or listen to some music that I enjoy, or go on a hike or something like that, and just be where I'm at. It's okay.
Yeah, and I think also I would say that bad days aren't super common. They do happen. Like today, I woke up not having a good day. Had a dream about cancer, which my dad just recently passed from, and I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I didn't want to do anything except drink coffee and do my work and stuff like that. Um, but I would say that the sting is taken away from them. When I drank, bad days would happen and I would drink and they were the end of the world. Like I lived my life where a bad day was literally the end of the world and I didn't know what to do and I would get all upset. Now I would say the sting is out of that. Like when I would be drinking, if someone scratched my car or I got an a fender bender or something like that, I would have flew off the handle. It would have made everything a bad day. I would have been so pissed off because, all these cars should get out of the way for me. I'm the only one on the highway, right? And I realize now that, the sting is gone. I really let things ride. I'm okay. Like, it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay for me in sobriety. It's okay to have a bad day, but not drink. Now, if I have a bad day and drink, we got a whole nother set of problems. But if I have a bad day and I make it through that bad day and all I do is watch reruns of TV shows or watch the Harry Potter movies again or something like that, that's a win. Why? Because I didn't drink. And it's almost a double win. Like if I have a day where I'm just feeling great and I'm super productive, that's easy. When you feel good, it's easy to not drink. But when you feel bad, sometimes it's more difficult to not drink. And that's why we need to chalk that up and say, hey, today I won. I get the trophy today because I didn't drink and I had a bad day. And I think that's really, really important. And also, what defines a bad day to you? What if you could rewrite the rules on what a bad day is? A bad day for me used to be judged by the amount of money I made. Literally. I was taught this at a young age, and, I would look at the screen and I'd be like, hey, we didn't hit that number. We were halfway. Didn't matter if the day before I 10x the number. Today was half, and I am a bad guy, and I feel terrible. And I'd go to the bar because the stuff doesn't work. But the funny thing about that was if you look at it over time, at the time I was drinking, I pretty much made the same amount of money every year. Some days were real good, some days were bad. And what that goes to show is that I didn't have to do all that worrying. The worrying didn't change the numbers at all. They actually made it lower because I was spending time worrying. And I think the same thing with life. If you look at what a bad day means to you, and you look at little wins, celebrate little things. I went to the gym today. I woke up a little bit early and read or meditated or listened to a talk or went for a walk. Or I didn't fight with my significant other, or I didn't do this, or whatever it is. Look at what it is that makes you happy and find some way to do that every day. For Terry, he likes to ride the bike. He goes bike riding and everything, and he goes like 100 miles. To me, that would make me really sad. If I rode my bike 100 miles, I'd be like, I feel like my body wants to leave the dirt, But we look at it and we're like, look at the things that make you happy and celebrate little wins. I'm sure, Terry, when you got sober, you didn't do the 120-mile marathon around Lake Tahoe and up Mount Everest and through the Serengeti. You probably started by, I'm going to go down the block.
That's exactly it.
Yes. And that felt good. It felt good to get on a bike and not drive it crooked. It felt good for me to wake up and not be hungover. I mean, holy shit. For the first bit of sobriety, that was a win. Even sometimes today, I'm like, I wake up, I didn't sleep well, but I'm not hungover, which, I mean, come on, that's a big win. And I think that's a big thing, is to look at what defines a bad day and what are your little wins like. All right, next up on the old Alcoholics Answer the Questions of the Reddit. And if you like this format, smash a like button. Let us know in the comments. We're switching up our content a little bit to draw new people in and also get to the nitty gritty of the questions that people have when they're getting sober, because I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's some good information. And I would say that the number one thing is always see a doctor, because you need to see a doctor. I think that's very important. But there's a lot of funny stuff. Like you look at TikTok and it's like, okay, TikTok's got all these remedies for getting sober, and it's like, really, what can I teach you in 60 seconds? Is there really some magic thing in 60 seconds I can show you? Well, yeah. Okay, here it is. If you want to stay sober, don't drink. How many times have we heard that one? All right, but it's a lot harder than that. Am I missing out because I don't drink? I think this kind of goes in line with the am I depressed because I can't drink? Am I missing out? This is a tough one for me because my life is pretty much the same, with the exception of drinking and depression and madness. I didn't really go to a lot of parties or things like that. I didn't really go out to a lot of functions. And surprisingly, after I got sober, I started getting into YouTube for my business. And the YouTube conferences are put on by a lot of people that are involved in the Mormon church, and they don't drink. So I'm like, yes, I love this. Bring it on. So it's not a big deal. But even when I do go to those, I don't feel like I'm missing out because I don't drink. I'll go to the bar and get a ginger ale or a tea. And 9 times out of 10, they don't even charge you. They're like, whatever, dude. So I give them $2 tip or something, and whatever. But I don't feel like I'm missing out. Terry, do you?
I don't anymore.
Well,
In the beginning, I kind of did,
mm-hmm.
and I'm not a big fan of going to parties. I know I say the parties a lot, but what I did enjoy doing was, when I was living in the wine country, I loved going to the wineries. They're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And the countryside's wonderful to be around, and everybody's happy, and it's a fun situation. And I really missed that, and I knew I couldn't do it
Mm-hmm.
if I wanted to stay sober. I mean, I had bounced around in my head. Maybe I could take a bunch of friends and be the designated driver, and drive a big bus or whatever, and I thought about all that, but I was like, no, I need to stay away. And I kind of thought I was missing out. Every year at the end of April, there's a big thing, and like 42 wineries close to the public, and you buy tickets and you go to as many of them as you can and have lots of fun. And I always ended up getting too drunk, of course, but it was always fun. I looked forward to it every year. And then that first year it came and went, and I didn't go. And I was like, man, all my friends went. I missed out on it. I don't see them very often. I kind of felt bad, and this is big. I've replaced that stuff with what I say every webinar: the hiking, the biking, the cycling, spending time with my family, spending time with sober friends, and doing sober activities. And I have a lot more fun nowadays. I can remember what I did. I don't feel like crap the next day. I don't worry about whoever's driving or me driving after drinking, which you should never ever do. It's such a dangerous thing to do. But it's just so much better being sober. So I don't feel like I'm missing out anymore. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Did I in the beginning? Yes. Before I got sober, I was very concerned about what I was going to miss out on because I couldn't drink. But it came around.
It's funny too, because I think it's that built-in forgetter that we have as alcoholics, where we don't remember the crappy times. Like,
yeah.
I doubt Terry's like, yeah, man, the last time I went to the wine country on the bus, I was hosed by winery number 2, and I don't remember the rest of it. If he's anything like me, that's pretty much how it went down. Or I went to, I used to like, when I would go for my business meetings, I'd like to go out dancing afterwards because I just find that fun, even though I dance like a chicken trying to run away from whatever chickens run away from. I didn't dance that well, but I had fun. So there you go. But, it would always end in me being too drunk to get home, or me not remembering things, or me getting in an argument with someone. So am I missing out on that stuff? Yeah. Am I able to have coherent fun? Yeah. Should I, as a new alcoholic, go hang out at a party and not drink? That's sketchy. I didn't do it, and I wouldn't do it. Actually, case in point, Terry, we were talking about this the other day. I think this is good to bring up. I went to the old Kebmo concert the other night, and I really wanted one of my Heineken Zeros because I just enjoy those. And they're like, oh, it's at this little bar down here. And it was right in between the opening band and Kebmo. So I was kind of in a hurry. And the bartender like wanted to know everyone's life story before she got their drink order. And I'm like, I'm gonna miss the show. And I came here to see Kebmo. I didn't come here to wait in line. And I was debating, do I just go back to my seat and get a drink later or whatever? Um, and so I was in the hurry. I got it, and then I went and sat down. And I'm like, holy crap, was that a Heineken or a Heineken Zero? Because I wasn't paying attention. I mean, I know what I said, but the bar stuff happened fast and everything. And sometimes you can't tell. I don't know if I'd be able to tell the difference because I haven't had a regular and stuff like that. So that's something that kind of can scare you. And if you're going to drink non-alcoholic stuff at a bar, you might want to wait a while. I waited, I think, 5 or 6 years into my sobriety to do that. Probably not the best advice when you're sober. Like, had I started that a year sober, I probably would not be sober today. Probably not, because it would have been easier to hide. It would have been that. And I think it's important to look at that. But as Terry always says, pick a drink that's non-alcoholic that you are ready to order. So you don't have to think about it, right? Because we've all gone to the place after saying we're not going to drink, and this voice behind us says, here's what we want. And we're like, wait a minute, I didn't say that. Who ordered my drink? So I think that's important too.
This is very important advice right here. Your second song after the band starts, that's when you go to the bathroom and go to the concession stand. The lines are the least at that point. Okay, go on.
I thought it was going to be, it was like a 1,200 person venue. It was okay. She just wanted to get everyone's life story. I'm like, what are we doing here, lady? But yeah. Next question here is, are panic attacks common? Well, I think panic attacks are common in the westernized world, like America, England, all them other places. Alcoholic or not alcoholic, I think panic attacks are common. That's part of the deal. Now, one thing I will note is that many alcoholics struggle with anxiety. Anxiety is like the little brother of the panic attack. The panic attack is like a culmination of thoughts and feelings. And anxiety is more or less a feeling, and then we try to describe it by words. Oh, I'm anxious because. Well, maybe not. Maybe you're anxious because you had too much coffee. Maybe you're anxious because alcohol's screwing up your system. Maybe you're anxious because of this. Or maybe it is about a thing. But what I would look at is, it's very important to look at, and we'll get fancy here with the pens, right? It's very important to look at, there's two things here. There's working of the mind, and there's the content. Okay, so the working of the mind is panic. Okay, this is how your mind works. So if you get panic attacks, I want you to look back in your life. And again, we're not doctors, trained physicians. Always go talk to a doctor about panic attacks and alcohol and anything. Because it could be something bigger. I could say, hey, you got an itchy foot, but what do I know? That might lead to something else. So always go and look at that. Panic attacks are what we call the working of the mind. This is the way your brain works. This is why it happens over and over and over again in a cycle. Because what's happening is you are giving the content to the brain and it works on it. Now, the way that your mind works is the way that it works, stamped, sealed, delivered. It's always going to work that way. 8 years sober, I'd like to sit here and say, hey, you know what? The working of my mind, it hasn't changed at all. I've changed my response to it, and I've changed the way I look at it. So when we get panic attacks, you might have a panic attack over, I got to go public speaking, or I got to get in an airplane, or I got this presentation at work, or I might get fired, or I'm on the side of the road and I have no reason to be panicked, but it happens anyway. That's the working of your mind. That's just going to keep going and going and going. Now, what we tend to do is look at the content. So the content of the mind is like, oh, hey, you know what? I am panicking because I don't got enough money, right? Here's our money. And we're like, okay, I'm panicking because I don't have enough money. Or I'm panicking because my relationship is bad. All right, there's like this wall between me and my spouse or whatever. Forgive the drawings. But we look at this and we're like, okay, now what's happening is we're giving the content. Doesn't matter what it is, but when you throw it at the working of your mind, boom, it's going to go in a loop like that. And it's going to keep chewing on it. And you're going to think, oh, hey, well, I'm thinking about all this stuff. This is why I have panic. No. You have panic because that's the way your mind works. You have anxiety because that's the way your mind works. Now, I get some new thing to chew on, think about, and I'm going to attribute it all to that. Well, I got this thing coming up at work. Okay, fine and good. Everyone's got things coming up at work and they're fine. Why do you have this? Because the working of your mind is panic. Now, the way that you get out of this is one, understand whether it's serious or not. If it's serious, go to the doctor. If it's not serious, call a doctor. Figure out if it's serious, right? But what we want to do is we want to look at this and say, okay, I'm going to focus on knowledge that the working of the mind is what's going on here. That's the problem. Like if you're driving down the highway and you're thump, and you're blaming the state of Florida because the freeways are crooked, but your tires are oval, I'm gonna be like, dude, you got oval tires. You're like, no, look, there's a pothole. I'll be like, yeah, there's a pothole. We're all going over it fine, but your oval tires are making your car go loop-de-loop-de-loop. It's the problem with your car. Fix your tires. But you're gonna argue with me. You'll be like, no, you don't understand. It's the road. And the state of Florida will get involved and it'll be a big mess because we don't understand that it's about the working of the mind. And if we understand, that's the way the mind, I don't need to give that anything else. I don't need to dwell on it because my mind is just, that's how it works. There it is off there in the distance doing its thing. Here's what I'm going to do. And I think it's important to look at that because if we understand the root of why we have fear and panic and stuff like that, we will start to understand a lot more and get a lot more control over it. And the funny thing is we get control by not having control.
Yes.
We get control by saying, that's just the way my mind works. All right, that's it. I'm just going to have, it's what it is. And then all of a sudden it starts to shut up and you're like, darndest thing, it started to show up or shut up. Terry, what are your thoughts on that?
Just a quick thought so we can get to the next question, but the way to short circuit it for me, and Marcus pretty much said it right there, was understand what I'm panicking over. So, okay, this is what I'm panicking over. What do I have control over in this situation? Let's say I have a court date and I'm worried about it. I'm beginning to have a panic attack, something like that. What do I have control over in this situation? Well, I might get an attorney. Okay, I can dress nice. I can be professional. I can say the right things. That's what I have control over. What decision is being made, what the other side is saying, I don't have control over that. So I got to let that go. This is a lot easier said than done. I understand that. But trying to step back and realize what I have control over in this situation and what I don't have control over. I mean, this is a serenity prayer, but it's really an effective tool for me to short circuit that panic attack. And of course, that content of the mind is going to try and drive me towards that panic attack. But if I step back and think about the situation, it tends to go a lot better. And that's it. That's pretty much what I do.
Absolutely. And I think I think people are really liking. Are you guys liking this format? If you are, type format in the box. Give us a thumbs up if you like this. And also, I got a lot of questions on the list Terry made, and I don't think we're going to get to them all this week. So if you guys have questions that you want to add, questions about sobriety or alcoholism, put them as a comment below. So after this video plays and you watch it, put it as an actual comment on the video, and we'll go through and we'll start to answer those with others next week, because I think we're getting to some good stuff, and I think these questions are triggering some answers and some discussions that we haven't thought to have. And I think it's taking us in a good direction. If you guys like that, let us know. And also on these, make sure you put your questions. We'll read them, and we'll put them on the next week thing as well. And maybe we'll do questions from our subscribers about how to get sober as well.
And also, if you guys, if you're not in our Facebook group, join it. And I'll put out I'll put this out on our Facebook group probably tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah,
and then maybe you guys can ask me some of those questions, and we'll try to hit them
for
next week.
Yep, and get just for Terry, get screenshots of them. It'll make it more fun. So,
will do.
Awesome. All right, guys, good. Glad you like it. Next question here. Can I drink just one beer occasionally? Occasionally. Let's shrink this down so we can see it here. Occasionally. There we go. Terry, you want to take that one?
Sure. No. All right, Marcus. No. I don't know. Actually, to be perfectly honest, I don't know. Could I? Maybe, maybe not. Um, but I do know my history and me trying to just have one that never worked. So if I was going to look at evidence, that would be the answer is an absolute no. I can't just have one. I have one, then I'm going to get this little itty bitty tiny little bit of craving, or maybe it's going to be a lot. I don't know, but maybe it'll just be a little, and
Mhm.
I'm going to want more. And then maybe in a week or so, because I'll be like, I'd have that one, and I'd wait a week, and I'd be like, oh, I'm good. That was no problem.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll have another one a week later. And then after that other one, maybe after I just drank that, I may be like, oh, I was okay for a whole week. What's the problem? Then I'll have two. And then maybe 4 days from there, then I'll have three. And for me, I mean, that's not how it actually works for me. When I've quit and started again, I've gone from 0 to 1,000 immediately. But this is the way I've seen many people that I've worked with, is it slowly gets more and more. And even if they're able to control their drinking for a year or more, it's for a person that's an alcoholic, they've always gone back to the same amount or
Mhm.
more than what they were drinking before. At least that's my experience.
Mhm.
Maybe some of you guys have seen otherwise, but this is what I've seen.
Yeah. And here's what I would say do too, because there's a lot of fear and stigma around, oh my God, I need to quit for the rest of my life. That's scary. I don't know what I'm going to eat for lunch today, and it's almost noon. How the hell am I going to know what I'm going to do the rest of my life? And I think this is important to look at. I remember in rehab, he said, whenever you're going to do a major life change, give it the 365. I will be able to write numbers correctly one day. 365 rule, where you give it an entire year, give it the 4 seasons, go through an entire year. All right. So, what we want to do here is I want to say, okay, can I drink one beer occasionally? I don't know. Terry doesn't know. I don't know. But what I am going to do is for an entire year, I'm going to have no drinks, no alcohol. Okay. Do that for a whole year. And I'm not going to do that counting down the days to when I can have a drink. If I do that, it's not going to work. What we're going to do is we're going to do an experiment of, okay, and for those of you that are watching this and you're like, I'm not an alcoholic, I'm fine, but I just stumbled upon an alcoholic talk, and for some reason I'm watching it. For those of you that are not sure if you're an alcoholic, do the 365. This will tell you real quick. Because if someone said go a year without drinking, I'd probably make it about a week back then. Okay? So what we want to do is say, okay, can I drink one beer occasionally? Well, let's go a year. I'm going to go a year no drinking. I could do anything for a year. I mean, come on, there you go. It's not that hard to do. And a year will give you some good stuff. But also don't look at it like on March 17th, 2023, I'm cracking open a beer. No. Look at it as I'm going to not drink for a year and see what happens. Does that mean I'm going to quit for the rest of my life? Maybe, maybe not. But I'm going to go through that year and see what happens. Then you look at it and see how you feel at the end. How do you feel at the end? And you look at your track record. Had I done that, had I cracked open one beer occasionally at the end of 1 year sober, I would bet money on the fact that I would not be sober today. I don't think a year was enough to get that going. But a year was enough to change my mind about drinking, because then I was able to say, well, I had a year. Let's go another year. Why would I ruin this by doing this other thing, or chancing it? And I think that was important to look at. So go for a year. Start to build a life you don't need to drink yourself away from. Start to build a life where one beer doesn't matter. Like, to me, I'm like, I don't give a rip. Who cares? A beer? Why do I want that? I've had a gazillion. I used to drink a keg a week. Actually, a keg and a half a week. Do I really need more beer? Makes me fat. Makes me drunk. And what are the upsides? Not really that much upside. If I want the flavor, maybe you could look at non-alcoholic. But again, Go 365, nothing. Nothing that resembles alcohol. Nothing that even, like for the first year, I didn't even use extracts in my cooking. Because I
Right.
was like, hey, we're not going to do it. What do you think
And
about that, Tim?
one other thing to look at, um, for me, like for quitting, and I've seen this, especially, a friend of mine tells this story a lot, and she had stopped drinking. She was definitely an alcoholic, and she didn't really work a program or try to change her mindset or anything like that. She just stopped, basically, and she quit for 11 years, and then she started again. And the one thing she said about those 11 years was, and she's been sober now for, I don't know, 18 years, something like that. But so she's had quite a journey. But, anyways, one thing she said in those 11 years that she had stopped drinking is she thought about it constantly. So, if you're going to do an experiment like this, try and pay attention to what you're thinking about. Of course, in the beginning, it's going to dominate your thoughts. That's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But does that start to wane? When you get towards, 6 months or whatever, I mean, there's no real time frame, but when you start to get more into the sobriety, how are you thinking about alcohol? Like for me right now, I don't, alcohol is like neither here nor there. I don't drink, of course. I'm not going to take a drink, but I'm not anti-alcohol. I have no problem with other people drinking. For me, it's poison. For others, it's not. For others, it's fine. I don't know if I'm quite explaining this right, but what just for my thought process now is yes, I have to do things to stay sober. It does have to be the most important thing in my life, but at the same time, I don't have to fight it anymore. I don't have to fight the alcohol. I have a new way of living. It's that, like Marcus just said, that life that I don't have to run from, so I don't have to take a drink. And so that's kind of an important thing for me is think about that mindset when you're not drinking.
Absolutely. Last question we'll take before the rest. And again, if you guys like this, smash the like button, let us know. And we will continue doing videos with this format. We can also take your guys' questions as part of the format as well, which I think is really, really, really important to look at. I think that's a good one. So next question here we have, which is an interesting one. Again, Terry and I are not doctors, but this question is: does alcohol cause neuropathy? Now, I had to look this up because I am not smart. Um, and neuropathy is a complex type of pain initiated or caused by a primary lesion or dysfunction in the nervous system. It's defined as pain arising from direct consequence of a lesion or disease affecting the somatosensory system. One thing I will say is that a lot of alcoholics that deal with anxiety and deal with panic issues oftentimes have OCD. And I heard in rehab that OCD was pretty much alcoholism in a nutshell. You have the obsession to drink, the obsession of the mind, the guy who's like, oh my gosh, I'm screwing up my entire life, but can I have a beer one day? Like, you wouldn't look at that. Like, I remember the day my dad was diagnosed with cancer, he stopped having cigars. It wasn't even a question. He didn't miss them. He wasn't like, can I have one day? No, I'm done. These things are done. And so we look at that and we start to understand what's going on. And with alcoholism, we have this insanity where it's like my entire life is bent around alcohol. Like, that's what I care about. Like, I'm literally in the hospital thinking about getting another drink, but I'm in the hospital because I drank. So, long story short, or actually short story long in that instance, I think that the OCD, I know for me, and again, I'm not a doctor, for me, the OCD led to worries about a bunch of health stuff. And I noticed how my brain works, and it could get pretty rough sometimes. And I'll sit and I'll worry about health issues. But I am a rational person, and if there's something that I'm worried about, I'm going to go to the doctor. Right? I probably go a little bit too much because I'm like, hey, buddy, I want to make sure nothing's bad. So, does it cause neuropathy? I don't know. I don't think. You'd have to look at studies on that. What do you think about that, Terry?
Exactly what you just said. As far as you'd have to look, but I'd be cautious about looking. A lot of the Reddit questions, I put this in there because there's a lot of questions. Does alcohol cause da 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 neuropathy? Does it cause liver disease? Does it cause da da? There's so many questions about that. And really, for me, what it is just kind of what was just explained is what it doesn't matter if it causes it or not. I know for a fact it doesn't help the situation.
Mm.
And that's important, is that it doesn't help. So, I mean, if you go to the doctor with any condition at all and you tell them how much you drink, he's probably going to tell you, you need to stop drinking. Or why don't you cut back on your alcohol? Whatever he's going to say. But there's a reason for that, because alcohol affects every single cell in the body. So if you have a condition, it's not going to help it.
Yeah.
I've seen, does alcohol cause diabetes? Well, there's a lot of sugar in there. So does it cause it? I don't know. Does it help it? Does it help fix your diabetes? No, probably not.
Yeah.
But if you stop, it might help you on the road to fixing whatever condition you have. So that's the way I look at it, as it's not going to help you.
And I will say something that bothers me, along the lines of does alcohol cause and all this stuff, because alcohol does cause a lot. It is a problem for a lot of things. It wreaks havoc on your life. I know for a fact alcohol causes alcoholism. Like I would never have been an alcoholic if it wasn't for the alcohol. Like I wasn't born an alcoholic. I had to drink alcohol to be an alcoholic. You have to. That's what chemical dependency happens. You can't have chemical dependency without a chemical. Now, one of the things I will say that was very damaging and almost ended my life short was actually the advice from two well educated therapists. And I was like, hey, you know what? I disagree with you guys on this wholeheartedly now. And that was this damaging phrase right here. They said, Marcus, you are not an alcoholic. You are self-medicating. And my brain said, what a genius I am. I figured out a way to medicate without medication. Oh, that's so great. And they kept saying it and kept saying it. And I was like, yay, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm just self-medicating. Self-medicating is a damaging term. Alcohol is not a medicine. I don't know what med school every person went to that said you're self-medicating, but alcohol is not a medicine. It's not. So we look at that like, okay, first we got to look at that because it ain't medicine. So we're self-intoxicating is what we're doing. We're a drunk. And I wish someone had said, Marcus, you are a drunk. You are an alcoholic. And I had to go to rehab and get this 300-pound buff dude, well, I don't know if he's buff or not, from the Tenderloin in San Francisco to tell me, hey, dumbass, you're talking to me, you're an alcoholic and a drunk. You continue to drink. And I'm like, no, my therapist said that I'm self-medicating. It's a medical term. And he's like, what med school did you graduate from, son? And I was like, none. And I'm like, but I got a bunch of books. And he's like, screw your books. Because that ain't medicine. Last time I checked, it said may cause problems. Right now, I know some medicine does cause that too, but it's actually for the medicine purposes. And we have to look at this and we have to get to the reality of, I'm a drunk. Does alcohol cause a lot of stuff? Yeah, go to the doctor, figure out what it causes. But first, you need to get this and say, I need to stop doing this. I got anxiety, I got OCD, this is the only thing that helps. Well, no, it's the only thing you're trying right now because you like it. I didn't try meditation. I didn't try not having regular coffee in gallons. I didn't try going for jogs. What I did was I went to the bar for every solution. That was my answer to everything. And you know what? For a couple of months, it actually worked. For a couple of months, when I had my problems and I went to the bar, it worked. I was able to not think about my problems. Did they go away? No. Did they get fixed? No. Were they even helped? No. I was just able to ignore them.
Yeah.
And ignorance is not bliss when you're an alcoholic. I'll tell you right now. When you're an alcoholic, ignorance is not bliss.
No.
You need to go through and you need to understand what alcohol does to you. You need to understand that the self-medicating woo-woo term, I wish she would have just said, no, Marcus, you're a drunk. Because then I would have gotten sober earlier. I would have saved my family a bunch of heartache. I would have saved a bunch of money. All because, we're dancing around the issue. Here at Talk Sober, we don't dance around the issue. We dance at the place where you dance. Here, we talk about real stuff that you need to do to get sober and understand what's going on. Because there's a lot of thought processes, and there's a lot of, you can moderate. And I watched the moderation channels, and the guys are relapsing like it's going out of style. I'm like, we're moderated, but I got drunk again. Well, that ain't moderation. That's getting drunk again. I could have said that in my life. If you look at the last year of my drinking, I was moderating. I'd go 2-3 weeks. What a good little moderator. But I was also a raving drunk. Just because I had a couple of days strung together where I didn't drink or I couldn't go to the store to get alcohol, or my wife was like, if you drink this week, you're out. Yeah, anyone can do that. But I was a drunk, and I had to look at that fact. I had to say, hey, here we go. So if you're hung up on moderating, if you're hung up on all this self-medication stuff, go a year. Say, fine, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm going to prove it. I'm not going to drink for a year. Prove it. Then after the year, say, hey, how'd that year go? Was it good? Was it bad? Was I jonesing for drinks? What happened? So that's my little spiel. If you guys like this stuff, check out talksober.com. Over at talksober.com, we got lots of good stuff for you. We have an entire course that helps you with the mindset of not drinking. You go there, talksober.com. You can go over there, click the big yellow button, sign up, $27 a month. You can cancel whenever you want. If you like this show, you like this channel, sign up, help us out. I think right now we are making an average of $3 a week on our video stuff. So we do need some help because this equipment does cost a lot, and we do want to be able to provide more stuff to you guys and to other people as well. So if you like what we're doing here, go to Talk Sober, click the yellow button. In addition, because I don't want to just make this like a donation thing, because I want to give you some value, as does Terry. In addition, you're going to get all kinds of letters, videos, PDFs, worksheets. That's going to take you through a 30-day sobriety, like a workshop kind of deal. And we're going to have private calls in there as well. So talksober.com. Terry, anything to add?
Hey, good discussion on the sides. I saw there was a big discussion about non-alcoholic beer and all that. And yeah, we could actually address that at some point. We have in the past, but for me, it's to each their own. But hey, great comments. Appreciate you guys. Timberwolf, PMT Safety, Ann, GMC, Dave. I saw, who else was here? I saw all you guys here. All the regulars were here, and whoever's new, welcome.
Timber says he's got a question. Okay, he's sad about me not. So we'll see here. His question is, does NA beer have enough alcohol to be a problem for us? It depends on what you get. Heineken Zero and actually Stella. I was so happy. I went to the store and they had Stella 0.0. I was like, hey, I used to love Stella. So I tried it out.
But there you go. See, everybody's got a different take on it. Marcus likes his and he's getting non-alcoholic with 0.0. Mm-hmm. There are some that have 0.5. For me, I don't drink any non-alcoholic beer, and it's not something that I am against or whatever per se, but I just don't drink it. And so there you go.
And I would say, if there's a question, if you're worried, either one of two things: either don't touch it. If you're in new sobriety, don't touch it. It took me 5 years. 5 years. I started making hop tea because I liked hops, and that smelled the house up like it made the house smell terrible when I was making it. And then when I did decide, because Heineken Zero came out, I told my wife, and I was like, I miss it, and I was honest with myself. I said, I don't think I miss the alcohol. I think I just miss, I don't want to drink Coke because that's a gallon of sugar. I don't want to have tea because that gets old. And I'm the kind of person that whatever I drink, look, this is just for this webinar. I got this thing. I got this thing. I got a bunch of stuff. I even got my backup Heineken Zero here. And you can see it's got the zero on it somewhere. There it is, zero alcohol free. Oh, well, it's right there. There you go. Marcus can't read. But I always drink lots of stuff. And I would be careful with it. And if you are in late sobriety, like 5 years, whatever, and you do decide, get a support system that you can have right then and there that's going to help you, and monitor it, watch through it. But you know what? In all honesty, if it was a big worry, it's not worth it. It's so not worth it.
Right.
So, yeah, that's what I would say about that topic.
Good to see you all today.
All right, guys, have a good one. We're going to continue next week. Smash that like button. We're going to judge it based on the likes and comments of this video. If you want us to continue this format of Reddit questions and stuff like that, we got like 10 more, and we're going to find a whole bunch more. So if you guys dig this, let us know, and we'll see you next week. Go to talksober.com.